Hi, this is Daniela Wolf with Bestie Life, the podcast, and this is your community to support you through the little and not so little events that make up your day-to-day life. From the I've got this moments to the I just can't moments. We are here to empower all women to find and develop the skills they need to find peace, balance, and the bliss in their busy. Through solo episodes as well as interviews with amazing women who share their journey and their story and how it works for you. I hope you find the inspirations to make you laugh, think, as well as maybe rethink what you thought you knew, and connect as we realize that we are all living similar ups and downs and don't have to do it alone. So excited for you to hear this episode, and thanks so much for joining me today. Hey, Courtney, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad this worked out. It's so great to meet you. So your business is called Declutter Dwell, right?
Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit more about it? Like, where did that come from? What exactly do you do?
Yeah, I'd love to. So this business idea actually sparked when my husband and I decided to downsize from our house into an RV.
Wow.
We just experienced so much freedom in that transition from really getting rid of probably 75% of our belongings, just to have everything fit in the RV.
Right.
So, that process really kind of opened up my eyes to how little I really needed, as opposed to how much we think we need. That's how this business started. What I currently do now is I create digital products to help women declutter and simplify their lives. Sorry, I'm outside and the train is in the background.
That's okay.
But yeah, that's currently what I do, and I love it.
That's fantastic. And I know you and I connected because some of the things you were posting really resonated when it comes to getting rid of possessions, when it comes to simplifying your life, how much that can be part of your self-care, that feeling of control and structure and organization, and really simplifying things can really change how you feel when you walk into your home, and that whole kind of, vibe you get when you walk in. And it's interesting too. I know we had talked a little bit about, how just in general, kind of being able to reflect on your own emotional attachments to your possessions and your things can also play a role when it comes to trying to simplify and declutter things,
Yeah.
I posted kind of a funny picture the other day when I was thinking about us talking, because I got rid of my landline and I realized I'd had this phone number for 22 years. And except for a couple of my close friends, I think that's the longest relationship I've had with anything, like longer than my job, longer than my kids, my marriage, and I was like, wow, and that wasn't necessarily why I was hanging on, but I think sometimes that emotional attachment to things, whether it's, because of how long we've known or had something, whether it's because of where it came from, who we got it from, even if it doesn't serve us as an object anymore, that emotional attachment can make it hard to get rid of things.
Yeah.
Someone posted, when cleaning out your son's playroom, it could be very freeing and things like that. And definitely, I think, with our kids, they sometimes acquire so many things that enter our world, and how that plays into then as well, what our space is made up of.
Definitely. I know it can be harder when you have a family. It's not just yourself or you and your partner, it's everybody else too, and getting them on board. And I know that's a whole nother challenge too, because everybody else has their own things, and it might be harder to get your kids to understand, the true benefits of decluttering. But I know one thing that I love to tell parents when they're like, well, what do I do with toys, especially for kids are older, because, when they're younger, mom or dad might be able to kind of go through and declutter them, but when they're older, it's really theirs. And so they kind of want them to have a say too, of course. And something I tell them to talk to their kids and explain is like, well, the less toys you have, the less cleaning up and pickup that you're going to have to do, and kind of letting them know like their responsibilities and kind of that workload might be lessened if they kind of declutter their toys. So that's something, that might be a benefit for the kids.
Yeah, another tip with decluttering, because it is hard emotionally to get rid of sometimes your kids' things, especially their art projects. They start
Yeah.
coming home from school with everything from, I have actually a framed like 4 lines from their first thing, to every little piece of string they've glued on a piece of paper. And I read somewhere if you take pictures and create then these mini photo albums of all their artwork is still a great way to keep track of stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
And definitely when the kids are sleeping or not having them see what you're getting rid of is also a great way to help declutter, because they can be very emotionally attached, and it's hard to find that balance between what they really need, what they're really attached to, and what they just don't understand and want to hang on to. Do you have any like quick tips when it comes to decluttering, how to maintain that? Because I know sometimes it's like you clean on the weekends and by Thursday it's a tornado again.
Definitely. Yeah, I know creating rhythms has been huge for me. And, everyone's going to be different everyone's house is going to be different in just their lifestyle. So, stuff is going to come back out. For me, I would first advise regular decluttering. So this is not like a huge purge every weekend or, after that kind of initial first purge, you'll have less stuff. So it won't be as much work. But however often that is going to be for you, whether that's, once every quarter or whenever that is, but just being on top of your clutter, because I think so often people think, well, once I declutter the first time, I'm done and my home will be clutter free forever. And that's not the case just because of life. Even for me, like I tell them, just because I teach decluttering doesn't mean my home is always perfect, or like I never have to clean again, or everything's great. Like, I think the reason why my home, I try and stay on top of it. And that's why, it is maybe so simplified, because I'm like always on it. And that does require a lot of work and commitment. But I would advise just, setting up just some kind of regular decluttering. It doesn't have to be a schedule, but just kind of staying on top of it. And then another thing I would advise is just to get started. So often we get overwhelmed, where do we start, or how do I do it, or what's the right way? Because there's so many people teaching different methods or, giving different tips. This is what you do and don't do. But I would say just find what works for you and just start, just set a timer, 15 minutes, head to your junk drawer, declutter your fridge, just a small space. You don't have to jump into your closet or your garage, just start small and work from there.
Right. Do you recommend kind of having the same routine all the time or varying by season?
I guess it can depend. I would say the same. Just making sure that you're staying on top of the things that are coming into your home. So I guess different things might come into your home in different seasons. And that's actually a good question, because now that I think about it, in some seasons of your life, you may have more stuff than others, just depending on kind of what's going on. But yeah, I would say stick to a routine that works for you. And if, something works at a different time, jump there, just kind of fluctuate, based on the season.
Right. I read somewhere once too, another like little tip is to keep a basket on the stairs and kind of collect everything that needs to go upstairs, so that you're only maybe making one trip per day, and kind of at the end of the day take everything up.
Yeah, that is a good one, because it does help you to keep track of the things that, if you're keeping a basket and you're like, these are the things that I no longer need, kind of have it visual and just kind of like toss it in. And then when it gets full, it's like, okay, time to bring that, to Goodwill or wherever you drop off.
Yeah, especially if you haven't had to fish in the basket and get it out. Like, I think if you need to go grab it from the basket, that's probably a sign you're not ready to get rid of it yet. But
right, definitely.
And like I said, when it comes to self-care, people don't always think of decorating or the way you maintain your home or decluttering as a form of self-care, but it really is, I think, so many ways, just to kind of, number one, so you don't feel overwhelmed by, just your possessions and your belongings, but also so that when you do come home, say after a hectic day, there's a sense of calm from having, I think, some of that organization and knowing that the things in your home have meaning and have purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think there's no better feeling. I'll start there with, coming home and knowing, just like sitting on the couch and, kicking your feet up and relaxing and knowing like, hey, I actually don't have to go to the kitchen sink and wash all the dishes. Or, I don't have to sit down and feel like, oh, I have 2 hours of chores to do because there's just so much stuff. it is so nice to come home, especially after a busy day like that, and just know all the clutter in your house is not going to just completely overwhelm you, and really make it so that you can't rest,
Right.
at the end of the day.
Or have that guilt, like feeling like I should be doing this and you're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Lori Sue just shared, like it was such a gift when they were downsizing to get rid of things and, a place for each thing without having to put stuff in storage, and really be able to probably just enjoy the things you own as opposed to having them in cupboards and boxes or things like that. So it gives more meaning probably to each thing.
Definitely. And I think decluttering too it's a great time to declutter, especially before a big move, because that's just less boxes you're going to have to pack and unpack and put away. It's like, it's not just the packing, it's like the whole process is going to be simplified because you'll have less stuff to bring with you.
Yeah. And I think too, being home during this pandemic, a lot of people have been, I think, just around their things more and more aware of, just how much stuff they have, what they're using, what they're not using. And so being able to have kind of a plan, maybe to declutter a little bit each day and a little bit at a time sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much, Courtney. This was great to be able to chat and meet each other and catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
If you have any further questions, check out either one of our sites, Declutter and Dwell, or...
Definitely. Thanks so much, Daniela.
Thanks. I'll talk to you later. Thanks so much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know any questions or comments that you have. Also, if you can please leave an Apple 5-star review so that this episode can be shared with more women. There's 2 quotes that I love. Alone we may be strong, but together we are stronger, as well as when women support each other, incredible things happen. So let's be stronger and incredible together, as well as maybe just have some fun along the way. Thanks so much and talk to you soon. Bye.